Listen, I want to share something with you today that may awaken your soul. Have you noticed certain women who simply refuse to shatter? Fire has touched them. Disloyalty has wounded them. Hearts have been broken, dignity trampled, yet watch them move through the world as though untouched by any of it. This isn't coldness, my friend. This isn't numbness. They're sheltered by something beyond themselves. An invisible shield guides their steps, carves paths through impossible terrain, even when everything looks dark and uncertain. Once you spot these markers in a woman's life, you'll grasp why she keeps rising, why every attack launched in her direction ultimately fails. So if this describes you, or if you're becoming this kind of woman, stay with me. What I'm about to say reflects back the power you already possess. She may appear solitary. Others assume she's lacking something essential. They wonder how she navigates existence without constantly needing companions at her side. No entourage trailing behind. No fanfare announcing her arrival. Just this woman, moving through space with quiet intention and unmistakable grace. What observers miss entirely is this truth. Genuine solitude has never been her reality. There's no emptiness inside her. She's not waiting for someone to notice her, not hunting for validation from watching eyes. She carries something profound within, something most folks can't comprehend because they're distracted by surface noise. Too much suffering has taught her that temporary people make unreliable foundations. Humans have cycled through her world like passengers through a train station. Trust was given and shattered. When she desperately needed support, she found herself abandoned instead. Yet none of this destroyed her inner core. Bitterness never took root. Instead, wisdom grew. Those experiences revealed a powerful lesson. Certain people enter your story solely to teach you self-reliance. Master that lesson, and you discover you were accompanied all along. Set apart, sheltered, reserved for purposes larger than you imagined. When she finally learns to move through life independently, it signals something significant. She's reconnected with her authentic inner voice, not guilt's accusations, not fear's deceptions, not the manipulative whispers that twist reality. Her true voice, the one speaking truth, even when the surrounding noise tries to suffocate it. The voice directing her when to leave a situation, when to sever connections, when to open her heart, when to guard it. This voice never shouts. It's too sacred for that. It speaks only in peace's presence. That's precisely why she walks her path alone, so she can actually hear what it's saying. She understands now that not everyone who enters your space brings blessing. Not every gathering feels safe. Not every person claiming friendship possesses loyalty. She's developed the ability to read what's beneath the surface, to notice when something disturbs her soul's equilibrium, to recognize threats disguised as kindness. After spending enough time surrounded by wrong people, solitude transforms into something beautiful. It's not loneliness pressing down on you. It's freedom lifting you up. The kind that helps you genuinely enjoy your own company. This makes her impossible to manipulate or control. Darkness rarely announces itself with obvious warnings. Sometimes it's charming. Sometimes it blends seamlessly into normal life. Sometimes it pretends to be something safe. Those constantly distracted, always requiring someone else's presence, frequently miss what's actually happening. But she doesn't. Solitude has sharpened her spiritual senses. She doesn't wait for someone to warn her. She feels the shift when something's wrong. Her spirit communicates more clearly than any spoken warning could, and her quietness keeps her spiritually alert. People wonder aloud, how does she seem so content being by herself? They're missing the point entirely. Solitude became her teacher, showing her the vast difference between being needed and being used. It revealed how to stop pouring herself into hands that never hold anything. It demonstrated that genuine love never involves begging someone to stay. Real love means respecting yourself enough to release what doesn't belong. She no longer fears goodbyes. She welcomes them, actually, because she's learned that peace costs too much to keep purchasing with her own life force. What guards her isn't merely physical, it's spiritual protection. An unseen hand pulls her back from danger's edge. An inner knowing whispers no, while everything external screams yes. This protection doesn't make grand announcements. No dramatic signs appear. No one applauds. But it reveals itself in overlooked moments. The message left unanswered. The meeting that never happened. The opportunity declined that later proved disastrous. These aren't coincidences. This is divine intervention. And this protection intensifies when she moves through life quietly. Because when too many voices surround you, their chatter drowns your clarity. Their perspectives fog your vision. But in solitude, your insight becomes razor sharp. You hear what matters. You move from authentic power rather than external pressure. And that kind of power? Evil cannot penetrate it. Some will misunderstand completely. They'll label her distant. They'll call her cold. But they don't grasp that her silence isn't a wall keeping people out. It's a sanctuary where she finds restoration, where truth speaks to her, where strength gets rebuilt. Most importantly, it's where she becomes unshakable. She's not wandering aimlessly. She's not lost. She's not taking random steps through life. She's being guided. Every step carries intention. Every chosen path holds meaning. Every quiet moment spent alone confirms something important. Despite every dark force out there, she's not vulnerable. She's not easily deceived. She's covered. And protection doesn't always look like armor and weapons. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it appears as solitude. Sometimes it's a woman walking alone while carrying an army's strength inside her chest. So next time you notice her, head high, walking with confidence, no one at her side, don't pity her. Don't assume something's missing from her life. Understand instead that she's walking in genuine power. She's aligned with her purpose. She's in a season where separation itself is protection. And she's never been stronger. She owes no one explanations. She doesn't wait for someone's true character to surface before trusting what her spirit tells her. Her soul senses realities before actions make them obvious. When someone enters her space, she immediately feels it. Energy shifting, strange tension hanging in the air, a silent alarm sounding inside. This isn't paranoia speaking. This is awareness. She doesn't guess about people. She knows. Entering any space, she perceives things not just with physical eyes, but with her soul's vision. While others fall for polished words, manufactured smiles, and attractive packaging, she sees straight through the performance. Surface-level show doesn't impress her. Masks don't move her. She's danced with pain before. She's stared down deception. She's survived betrayal's devastation. And once you've walked through that particular fire, your spirit doesn't simply recover. It transforms completely. Awareness becomes her armor now. Quietness becomes her defense. She pays attention not merely to words themselves, but to tone of voice, to timing, to the feeling underneath the language. That unsettled feeling when someone's smiling but your heart sounds the alarm. She listens to that. That's how she stays safe. Not through fighting, not through accusations, through recognition. She doesn't need to argue to prove her knowledge. Her spirit has already confirmed what's true. Sometimes she can't even articulate why. But when someone appears perfect in every measurable way, yet something still feels wrong, she believes that feeling. She doesn't wait for the drama to unfold, doesn't ask for closure or explanations. She simply creates distance because she knows that not everything attractive is actually good for her. Not every opportunity comes from the right source. Not every admirer carries pure intentions. That's why she remains safe. She doesn't silence her inner voice. She leans into it because it's never steered her wrong. That voice has kept her from repeating painful patterns. It warned her before danger arrived. It protected her when words failed, when people disappointed her, when everything looked different than it actually was. She doesn't broadcast her intuition to others. She just moves differently. When something shifts in her environment, she adjusts accordingly. No chasing, no begging, no guilt. She protects her peace without apologizing for it. She's not interested in proving points. She's focused on preserving what she's worked hard to build. Her peace, her vision, her healing. Darkness isn't always noisy. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it wears a friendly smile. Sometimes it offers to help. That's why her intuition has become her strongest weapon. She's witnessed kindness, weaponized as manipulation. She's experienced ordinary conversations that left her spirit completely drained. That's why she no longer judges situations with eyes alone. She listens with her spirit. And the more she trusts that inner truth, the more attuned she becomes. Confusion no longer clouds her judgment. People who once had unlimited access can no longer reach her energy. She knows the price of ignoring her spirit's warnings. She's paid it before. She extended chances she shouldn't have given. She stayed in situations longer than wisdom would have permitted. But she learned, even if the hard way. Yes, she learned. And now she doesn't give darkness the benefit of the doubt anymore. Her shield is awareness itself. Her gift is seeing clearly without making noise about it. She doesn't always need to call out what she sees. Sometimes she just removes herself from the situation. Sometimes the wisest move is no reaction, no fight, just wisdom, just stillness. She doesn't debate what her spirit already knows with certainty. If something feels wrong, she trusts that. This keeps her ahead of the game. Miles ahead. Some will criticize her, calling her too guarded, too sensitive. But they don't realize her sensitivity is actually her superpower. It was forged by pain. It was refined through experience. It's not weakness dressed up. It's wisdom. She doesn't ignore the shift happening in the room. She feels it. She honors it. That's why evil can't easily reach her. That's why manipulators grow uncomfortable in her presence. They can't hide behind manufactured smiles around her. She sees through every layer. She doesn't need proof presented. Her knowing is silent yet powerful. And that deep knowing, that sacred intuition, that's what prevents her from walking into traps, from believing empty words, from entertaining what doesn't align with her soul. She can sense shadows before they fully appear. And that's why she walks in light. Not just the kind others can see, but the kind that helps her truly see. And that particular kind of light, no evil can touch it. The enemy isn't worth her precious time. That's not weakness speaking, that's wisdom. She's endured too much to let petty people drag her into chaos now. She's observed how the enemy operates. Not always through direct attacks, but by creating distractions, stealing her focus, disturbing her peace, attempting to blur her purpose. Once you understand that some people appear solely to provoke you, not because they're strong, but because your calm threatens them, you stop giving them the pleasure of your reaction. She knows how to walk away. Not because fear drives her, but because she refuses to waste her fire on meaningless battles. She recognizes that some people show up just to create confusion, to test her patience, to tempt her to act against her own character. But she's moved past that phase. She's too grounded now, too focused. Growth teaches you that silence can be powerful. Distance can defend you. And peace becomes your victory. She's learned that protection doesn't always mean being hidden from the storm. Sometimes it's having the strength to ignore it, to leave the message unanswered, to not show up for the fight, to refuse to get caught up in the noise. That's genuine maturity. When you're not shaken by every push or provocation, when you recognize the trap and choose to go around it rather than through it, some will try to mess with her peace. They'll attempt to provoke her using lies, guilt, manipulation tactics. They'll push her buttons just to see if they still control her responses. But she's upgraded. She's leveled up. She doesn't run on emotions anymore. She doesn't move on impulse. She walks with intention. She knows her attention is precious, and she won't waste it on people who haven't earned her presence. That's the difference between a woman who's guarded and one who's simply reactive. A protected woman has learned to pause before speaking, Breathe before replying. Think before acting. She understands that some people only want to drain her dry. They want to distract her from her mission. They want to shatter her focus because they can't handle how centered she is. When you carry light inside, darkness always tries to pull you in, but it only succeeds if you willingly walk into the shadows. So she stays grounded. She guards her peace carefully. She lets people assume whatever they want, talk however they please, think whatever thoughts they choose. Because ultimately, her purpose speaks louder than their opinions. She's not here to prove her value. She's here to protect her energy. And that's what unsettles wicked people. A woman who doesn't flinch, doesn't respond, lets her silence speak louder than their noise. When you don't react, you strip away their power. When you don't respond, they're left talking to themselves. And when you walk away from battles that don't belong to you, you walk away with peace intact. Her protection lives in that stillness, in the wisdom reminding her, you don't need to fight every fight. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to explain yourself to those determined to misunderstand you. She knows who sent her. She knows what lives inside her. And that's why proof isn't necessary. Some will say she's cold. Others will criticize her distance, insisting she should have said something, should have reacted differently. But she knows the cost of stepping into mess. She knows how easy it is to lose your footing when you're fighting in places never meant for you. So she doesn't argue. She doesn't defend. She rises above the lies, above the drama, above the noise, because she understands that elevation requires separation. Each time she walks away from what was designed to destroy her peace, she's protected. Each time she chooses silence over revenge, she's strengthened. Each time she refuses to prove herself to those beneath her purpose, she grows. She doesn't take on every fight because some are just noise, some are bait, and some are beneath the woman she's become. Her discipline protects her. Her silence is armor. And her victory? That's in the fact that she's still standing, still calm, still focused, still powerful. While the world tries to pull her down, she remains unshaken. She doesn't fall for it. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't fight because she already knows she's won. Not everyone deserves a place in her life, and she's made peace with that. She's not chasing popularity. She's not trying to impress anyone. Her loyalty can't be bought, and her energy isn't available to just anyone. She values her peace too much to allow random people near it. Because once you've experienced betrayal, once you've been wounded by people you trusted, once you've seen fake smiles hiding real harm, you learn. You learn that access to you must be earned, not freely given. She doesn't keep people around simply to feel less lonely. She doesn't settle for shallow friendships that drain her spirit dry. If it's not genuine, if it's not built on truth, love, and trust, she releases it. She's not afraid of being alone. In fact, she thrives there, because in silence she finds clarity. In stillness, she hears wisdom the noise would completely drown out. That's why her circle is small. Not because she's antisocial or cold, but because she's intentional. She understands energy. She knows the people you allow close can either lift you higher or tear you down. So she protects her space like something sacred. She's seen that evil doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides behind a quiet smile. Sometimes those who cheer the loudest secretly want you to stumble. She's felt that particular sting. Now she listens deeper, watches more closely. She no longer lets labels like friend, family, or love blind her to actual behavior. She doesn't need a crowd. She just needs a loyal few. People who celebrate her without competition. People who don't gossip because they possess character. People who don't smile in her face while plotting behind her back. And if she doesn't find those people, she's genuinely fine walking alone, because being at peace with herself beats being in chaos with others. She'd rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by lies. Her spirit stays pure because she does the inner work. She doesn't just guard herself from others. She examines herself too. She faces her own flaws. She holds herself accountable. She forgives, not because others deserve it, but because she refuses to carry bitterness around. That's her protection. Refusing to let darkness grow inside her own heart. She knows what you carry inside becomes what you attract outside. So she releases hatred. She releases envy. She releases revenge, not from weakness, but from wisdom. She knows a clean heart hears clearer. She knows blessings flow freely when there's no blockage in the soul. Evil grows in bitterness, and she refuses to nurture that. She lets go of the pain. She heals. And through that healing, she becomes untouchable. Evil people can't use guilt to trap her anymore. They can't twist her emotions. They can't drag her into their messy games, because she's not living from old wounds anymore. She's aligned now. Her tight circle is her shield. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. Real recognizes real. Loyalty finds loyalty. And her life is built on truth, not attention. That's why darkness can't reach her. It can't survive in an atmosphere that pure. A clean spirit exposes the filth in others. It makes manipulators uneasy. It makes liars anxious. It makes users leave because they can no longer feed off her. She doesn't chase people. She doesn't beg for love. She doesn't force connections. If it's not mutual, if it's not sincere, she releases it. She understands anything forced isn't right. Anything meant for her won't require sacrificing her peace. That's why she sleeps soundly. Not because her life is perfect, but because her circle is true and her spirit is at rest. And no matter how deeply she loves someone, if they disturb her peace, she'll choose herself every single time. Because she's not afraid of being alone. She's afraid of losing herself in false connections. She's afraid of giving to people who only take. She's afraid of repeating cycles she worked hard to break. So she stays guarded. Not closed. Just wise. And when something feels off, she trusts that feeling. Because experience taught her that peace is a compass. Chaos is a warning. Her circle is made of people who don't need to be watched. Their loyalty speaks for itself. Her spirit is pure because she's done the work. Her life is protected, not because she fights off darkness, but because she doesn't let it in. If you see even a trace of this in your life, know that you're not forgotten, you're not weak, and you're definitely not being punished. You're being protected. And sometimes the greatest blessing isn't what shows up, but what never reaches you. Walk boldly. You are chosen.